Tzu Chi volunteers conduct home visits to care for the elderly living alone right before Typhoon Maria lands. A down factory is transporting clean secondhand bedding that's going to be turned into duvets and down clothing. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. Before Typhoon Maria headed toward Taiwan on July 9th, Tzu Chi volunteers made sure to go visit the isolated elderly care recipients in the mountainous areas, and also the retired veterans at the Frontline Mansion in Taipei, making sure they're all prepared and safe when the typhoon hits.
As Typhoon Maria approaches Taiwan, the people whom Tzu Chi volunteers are concerned the most are the retired military veterans in Frontline Mansion in Taipei. Volunteers remind the elderly to stay safe and be prepared for the typhoon. Another group of volunteers climbed the mountain stairs to visit the solitary care recipients, Mr. Luo, whose left side of the body was paralyzed. They brought over Jingsi instant noodles and rice so he can have sufficient food to survive the typhoon. Volunteers also took care of his basic needs. Mr. Luo's nails are longer than 5 centimeters, hence the volunteer Ling Shucheng needs to use scissors to cut them, and he even kneels down on the ground. However, the dirtiness can't stop him.
I always thought that I wouldn't kneel to cut anyone's nail, and after my mother passed away, however, today I was surprised to have this chance to do this again. It reminded me of my mother.
Today I saw many volunteers' kindness. They all served others selflessly with a humble attitude.
Whether the typhoon comes strong or weak, volunteers will always be here to support them sincerely.
In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, a middle-aged man, Tzu Chi, suddenly fainted at home in March of this year. He was sent to the hospital and was diagnosed with kidney failure. However, he was afraid to undergo dialysis treatment. That's why Tzu Chi volunteers invited a fellow dialysis patient to visit him and encourage him to receive the life-saving treatment that he needs. Following the footsteps of Tzu Chi volunteers, Tzu Chi care recipient Lam Sule went to visit Tzu Chi. 40-year-old Tzu Chi suddenly fainted at home in March of this year. He was diagnosed with kidney failure and had to undergo dialysis treatment. Tzu Chi was there to provide financial assistance.
He was not willing to undergo dialysis treatment due to financial problems. The experience of Shulei really comforted him. She said, "I am also a dialysis patient who is visually impaired. In addition, I also live alone. You can overcome all of these things, but it will take a lot of self-motivation and time. However, you must undergo dialysis first."
I have been receiving the dialysis treatment for 14 years, and I never refused the procedure. If you don't receive the treatment once or twice, the toxins will accumulate in your body, which will lead to many health problems.
Ms. Lim used her past experiences to encourage Tzu Chi to bravely fight his illness face on.
Sule said that I should not be afraid of the dialysis treatments. She encouraged me to go through the process step by step. As for my mood, I feel a lot more calm now.
In the beginning, I also received help from others. Since I have the ability now, I can help those who are going through the same things as me.
With the support of other dialysis patients, Mr. Dan can now face his physical struggles with a positive attitude. DaAi Kindergarten in Gapong, Kuala Lumpur hosted a Parent-Child Sports Day focusing on environmental protection. The school hopes to improve parent-child relationships while promoting the concept of recycling at the same time.
The third parent-child sport day of DaAi Kindergarten in Kapon has officially begun. To go with the theme for this year, which is environmental protection, they stepped on plastic bottles to create the sound of firecrackers.
We've arranged many activities, including teaching them how to save energy and decrease carbon emission. We guided them to familiarize with the recyclable goods and how to source resources in everyday life.
Through the creative tournament games, parents and children get to learn about the ideology of environmental protection.
The first game we played was Carpool, which has raised our awareness on sharing rides to save energy. Also, other games like collecting recyclables and sorting resources have all conveyed the message of being friendly to the environment.
This game requires teamwork between parents and children to successfully pick up recyclable items on the ground and move forward quickly. The collaborations has bonded them more intimately.
He participated in the game last year, but he didn't have enough energy to complete it. This year, he has joined all the games, and I'm delighted to see his growth.
The medals were made from recycled PET bottles to echo with the theme of environmental protection. It was designed and made by a student parent who is a plastic product manufacturer.
I thought it is precious because it can last for at least 20 to 30 years. It is particularly worthwhile because we reuse the recycled resources.
The sports day has created wonderful memories for parents and children and has taught them about respecting other athletes and the planet Earth.
The health number today is 5. When a child is in the developing stages, even if they are a bit on the shorter side, most people would think they'll eventually catch up, right? This isn't always the case. Doctors remind us for elementary school-age children, anything below a 5-centimeter increase in height per year is considered a delay. This may be due to underlying health issues, growth hormones, or just simply their diet. Elementary students line up to measure their height once every semester at school.
刚刚量是132.6公分。
哦，那去年呢？我看一下，上学期
128.7。
你长高3.9公分呢。
Today's parents attach great importance to the height of their children. They put great efforts into making sure their children are exercising, eating right, and sleeping well, in the hopes that they can be taller than the others.
My mom told me that if I do jump rope, then I would grow taller.
早一点睡觉会长高。
对。
你都几点睡？
都8点。
Doctors remind parents to pay close attention to their child's height. For an elementary school age child, if they don't grow 5 or more centimeters in a year, they're considered to be delayed.
It might be due to some potential chronic illnesses or growth hormone deficiencies. There could also be cases of precocious puberty, which could make them grow slower over time.
However, the doctor explains that when a child is not growing as fast as he or she should, 90% of the time is due to living habits and nutritional issues. As long as the child has a balanced diet, low levels of sweets, getting enough sleep, and exercise regularly, they will eventually catch up. Today on Clothes Journey, a 100-year-old Taiwanese down factory is working with a Japanese brand in transporting secondhand bedding from Japan to be cleaned and disinfected. Later, this is turned into duvets and down clothing. Let's join the journey.
This container is from Japan. Every time it arrives in Taiwan, it contains about 3,200 duvets. These duvets were bought by normal consumers and then eventually recycled.
After these duvets enter the recycling bin, this isn't their final stop.
The market penetration rate of duvets in Japan is much higher than Taiwan. Actually, the average Japanese person has more than one duvet.
The down duvets begin a new life here. This factory, which is over 100 years old, is the largest Asian company distributing down.
You can see I have 2 different piles of down feathers in my hands. This is virgin down and this is recycled down from secondhand bedding. In fact, it's difficult for consumers to judge from the naked eye which is virgin down and which is recycled. After processing this recovered down, it is still able to meet many industry standards for use in a general marketplace.
To obtain GRS certification for the recycling procedure, companies need to properly separate down, mix it, wash it, and undergo some 6 different processes. Later, it needs to be chemically treated and then disinfected and dried. Finally, it goes to chemical testing.
这是脖子毛吗？那这个是小毛。这个是小毛，对不对？
After confirming the composition ratio, tests such as pH, oxygen index, and elasticity are also performed.
把那个绒搅拌均匀，放下去的时候，静置1分钟。这就是我们的叙述。
The level of elasticity can affect quality and the warmth provided by the down. The higher the elasticity, the higher the degree of warmth it provides.
The down industry is itself a recycling industry. After collecting natural down, it is processed by a feather factory, then made into bedding or down clothing. Later, down from second-hand bedding is processed and sent back to Japan to be turned into bedding and clothing, leading to no waste. In the end, this recycled down is turned into a Japanese brand product, which is only for sale in Japan.
We have to do a lot of things in order to recycle this down. Labor is expensive, but the concept of sustainable development depends on this. You have to be thorough, and it may not be more expensive than new materials.
The price of a recycled down jacket is equivalent to that of a new brand name down jacket. This may be a reason why recycled down is usually limited to bedding. A duvet typically has about 1.2 to 1.5 kilograms of down, but lightweight down clothing may only contain 30 to 40 grams of down.
It takes a lot of manpower to take apart. After dismantling, to recover some 20 to 30 grams of down, you may have to go through 100 to 200 grams of material, which has to be discarded.
For the down industry, the processing of second-hand raw materials is much simpler than making clothing. But when it comes to profits, it actually contributes very little to the company's overall revenue. This means that the few companies willing to do this work are simply doing it for the good of society. Another company engaged in recycling specializes in the production of nylon fiber. The company supplies a number of well-known outdoor brands in Europe and America.
Some of the fiber we produce doesn't meet our quality standards, so it becomes waste material that can be reused.
This inferior nylon thread produced by the spinning process is collected by a tube and then put into a bag. Most textile mills would regard it as waste material, but here it is collected and once again spun into nylon fiber.
每一包如果是环保的产品，它都会有一个 global recycle 这个标签。
Each pack of waste fiber is turned back to the original raw material. After melting and refining, it is pelletized and then spun into a fiber, and then material and finished products. If any of it fails to meet quality standards in the fiber process, it is sent back and melted and refined again. Approximately 2,500 tons of recovered nylon can be produced in 1 year, which is equivalent to saving 64,400 liters of wastewater, 3.7 million kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions, and 1.33 million liters of crude oil.
Of course, the cost of remanufacturing process is more expensive than original production of nylon fiber.
At present, the recycled nylon accounts for 5% of the annual output of this plant, but the price of recycled nylon is 0.5 to 1 times higher than that of new nylon. However, this company believes that it is worth it in terms of customers appreciating the company's environmental awareness.
Because it's an environmentally friendly product, it's more expensive than other products, though many are still willing to purchase it. This is the reaction we are getting from consumers. Actually, this part of the pyramid has the largest area for expansion and growth.
In the past, many goods championed environmental protection as a marketing slogan. In order to put an end to doubts, special QR codes have been added to every garment, which plan to go on sale in 2019, revealing all the information about the product.
The whole production process of each piece of material, for example, when was the waste fiber recycled and when was the pallet made?
对环境有帮助的这个 business.
I hope that all industries can help the environment. I don't think I should just keep this knowledge, as I am also willing to share it with everyone.
我也愿意，我 share 比较多啦。
Whether it's recycling down or nylon fibers that don't meet quality control, these processes may generate less money and come with a higher cost. But from the perspective of sustainable business, they are very important. Ultimately, all the resources of the earth should be valued by both enterprises and consumers to ensure our continued existence.
When Tzu Chi in the Philippines held a rice distribution in Mandaluyong City, Manila, two families came to attend the event. It was not only to receive the rice, but to seek urgent help from the volunteers. Let's see how volunteers faced this unexpected request and helped them through their difficult times. Standing in line to receive rice, this father is actually not concerned about the rice, but more anxious about his daily life family struggles.
Not long after my daughter was born, her forehead was always red and swollen. As she grew bigger, a lump gradually started to grow on her forehead.
The thing that the father worried about the most was the tumor on his 2-year-old daughter's forehead. In order to earn a higher income to treat his daughter's illness, he moved his family from Mindanao to Mandaluyong City, Manila.
I don't have any extra money, so I feel really grateful that Tzu Chi is willing to provide medical assistance for my daughter.
Tzu Chi volunteers also found another family's hardship through the rice distribution. The girl named Leah has mobility issues.
Many people stares at her when she goes outside, so the only thing I can do is hold her in my arms. Besides this, there's nothing more that I can do, because we are very poor. Although my husband and I are making money, we're still unable to pay for the need medical expenses.
The volunteers have promised to provide this family with ongoing medical assistance. With the help of Tzu Chi, this family can now feel the joy of receiving the rice. There were many families affected by the massive earthquake in Mexico. However, life has to move on. One woman was trapped during the earthquake, but her family was what motivated her to stay alive. With Tzu Chi's financial aid and continuous care, this family learned how great love does not discriminate.
I
was having breakfast when the earthquake hit. My whole house was collapsing down. I had a slab of concrete on me. It was stuck behind me, on my back. I was left buried there.
I got there and turned her over and saw her legs all buried underneath the rubble. Then we quickly started to remove all the pieces of the wall from between her legs. Her head was covered in blood, and her legs were all scratched up, but somehow she got out by herself.
I felt the world was ending. I was yelling to my son, "The kids, the kids!" My little grandchildren, I was so worried about them.
Thank God they were okay. They are what give me the strength to stand on my feet and keep going in life.
As a grandmother, my grandkids are my all, my dear loves. I tell them they are the reason I live. Here in this envelope is what Tzu Chi gave me on the day of the distribution. All of it I keep close to me with lots of love. The cash card, when they gave it to me, already had my name on it. They gave us a lot of financial aid, so I am truly grateful. It was a big help for our family.
She received her aid, and the main thing was to fix the house, her home.
For me, it was such a great experience to see such beautiful people here. The Master gives so much love, so much help. It's something intense, something beautiful. Those are all the lessons she is giving us.
People who aren't from this country helped us so much, both economically and psychologically.
From the day of the earthquake until now, I've thought about my entire life. We've learned that we have to give our best. We cannot be selfish nor envious of other people. We must give love and care to all.
I must teach my kids to value what we have, the people who really love you and are there for you during both the good and bad times.
As soon as I lost my house in the earthquake, I was surrounded by many people who cared about me. That's strength. I fell from my stomach straight to the heart. If we sow love, we'll harvest love. Like a small seed, it falls and we let the seed grow and continue to spread more seedlings as it grows. Kaohsiung Tzu Chi volunteers took on a case from Ms. Lee, asking for help in regards to her elderly mother's hoarding habits. The situation has been going on for years, and it has caused many problems with the surrounding neighbors. On top of that, Grandma Lee is often sick due to the hostile living environment. That's why both Tzu Chi and community volunteers formed a 50-people team to do a massive cleanup mission. The first floor is supposed to be the living room, but you have to step through piles after piles of garbage to be able to even get inside. Bags upon bags of garbage piled sky high up to the ceiling. None of the volunteers knew where exactly to go, so Grandma Lee had to lead the way. In the past 6 to 7 years, Grandma Lee would go out and collect anything she deemed valuable. She ended up filling her basement all the way up to the 4th floor with nothing but junk. To make matters worse, the whole house has been infested with bugs, mosquitoes, and an unbearable stench. Both her daughter and neighbors can no longer stand the situation, so they sought out Tzu Chi for help.
From the 1st all the way to the 4th floor is all filled. It's terrifying, it smells bad, it really stinks.
Grandma Lee has been hospitalized multiple times due to the unhygienic environment, so the volunteers decided to take immediate action in lending a helping hand for the family. The volunteers started clearing out things from the 1st floor, but Grandma Lee couldn't bear the thought of throwing her things away. The volunteers tried over and over again to console her, letting her know that this type of environment is toxic to her health. Many volunteers were heartbroken for her and held her, crying in their arms.
There is so much garbage, my heart is aching for you while I'm cleaning. Do you know that? You must take care of your health.
The heartfelt care from the volunteers, Grandma Lee didn't take for granted. Grandma Lee was finally willing to cooperate. Both Tzu Chi and the community volunteers dispatched about 50 people to come help with the cleanup mission. The garbage truck made 3 trips in 2 days to take out everything. The floor that was buried for many years has reappeared. The newly reclaimed home gave much relief to both the daughter and volunteers. Typhoon Maria came and went very quickly without causing too much damage to northern Taiwan. The cleanup process was swift and most areas are back to normal. What a relief! Thank you for your prayers and we will see you next time.